You're going to be taking we know
what we're looking at. And you're not as bad like Caskey broke down last night. The talent is not the issue at all. At all. So, in my opinion, going up to the podium yesterday and stating that you're playing with inexperienced and first-year guys, man, that's excuse making at its highest level. Like, that is like finding an excuse and going out there publicly and stating like that's the immediate. There's no way that's the issue of giving up 55 points and not being able to stop anybody when you got guys out there, man. I mean, you got dudes, you got NFL players, you got pros at all three levels. All three levels. LSU's got a pro. Multiple at some levels. So anybody telling you that the talent is the issue, it's part of the problem. Look, is LSU DBU? No, they're not. They need better players at that position. But are they the 117th ranked defense in the country? Absolutely not. From a talent standpoint, absolutely not. Like we were talking about yesterday, call the defenses 50 through 100 and ask them if they want Mason Smith, Harold Perkins, or Denver Harris. I guarantee you, 50 out of 50 would say, absolutely. When can we pick them up?
Got a spot for you.
Nobody's turning down LSU's talent. What people are scratching their head and asking, how do you go to Oxford, allow 700 yards of defense, and keep Quincy Wiggins unbuckled chin strap on the sideline? How do you go to Oxford and allow that crap on the field and not put Deshaun Womack out there? Why does it take Whit Weeks a quarter and a half to get on the field? After talking to more people in and around football, it's a mind-boggling proposition. People are dumbfounded by it. I mean, it is unanimous when you speak to people in and around football that LSU is not this bad. Like, nobody would believe that LSU's defense is ranked below 115 in the country. And to not recognize that you got talent. You just got to go play with what you got. And the mismanagement of the talent is the issue. I mean, that is the problem. I mean, like, I'm not saying that they're going to be a top 20 defense.
You don't have to be.
But they're not a 117th ranked defense. So, like, to go up there yesterday and not just say, look, internally, the coaching, we got to get this stuff straight. We're going to get it straight. It's not, we're playing with first year, second year. Well, yeah, I mean, you're in a little bit of a bind in a spot in some spots, but it's not like you're rolling. I mean, Samford's defense out there, and I don't even, no disrespect. I just pulled that out of air. I don't even, they might be the best in their league. But I mean, come on. I mean, you're playing with pros. You're playing with guys. You're playing with dudes that are going to collect checks. Here is Brian Kelly speaking yesterday at the podium, a part of his Monday press conference. Stewie, this is 3 of him talking about the defensive issues along with the coordinator, Matt House.
Absolutely. If you look at the games that we won last year, start with Auburn, the Auburn game and the way we played defensively, taking the football away. If you look at the Arkansas game last year and the kind of defensive performances, clearly, defense won games for us. We had a lot of veteran players. You're talking about, Joe Fouché, Greg Brooks. We lost, Mekhi Gardner, Jared Bernard, Converse. That's a veteran group in the back end of the defense that, made a lot of plays for us. So Look, we know where we're at. We're playing a combination of 15 freshmen and transfers, and they're young and inexperienced, and they got to grow, and there's going to be some growing pains. And I said that at the start of the season. When you take that many guys, there's a red flag, and, we're going to have to go through these growing pains. But we're going to keep fighting, and we're going to keep teaching, we're going to keep coaching. But, yeah, the blame does not lie at the feet of one person. This is a collective situation where we've got to coach better and we've got to play better. And we'll have to go back on the road again.
So that's Brian Kelly yesterday speaking about some of the issues in recruiting. And this is where I would just push back a little bit. There has to be enough foresight. There has to be enough looking down the line of the depth chart and understanding, hey, fellas, if we don't hit on a couple of these safeties that we've got on the board, you are going to be in a serious compromising spot next year. So Derek Williams is the number one safety on your board, and he's obviously playing the NIL game. You've got to shift your focus and put all of your attention into making sure that you sign that guy. Right? Like, I've heard a lot of pushback over the last couple of days that, well, LSU's got to get their boosters in line and get their money right. That may be right for the future. That may be the case for years down the line, because here comes Texas. Alabama's getting their stuff straight. Texas A&M's doing it to a different level. Georgia's trying to get in line and trying to get all this stuff kind of moving in the right direction. Florida's trying to be a player in it. LSU is trying to get, what's going on. And people are doing it in the immediate. What's kind of separating the pack right now is that A&M they're set up for a decade. Texas is set up for a decade. Alabama's getting themselves set up for a decade. I mean, that is what is the real encouragement of local boosters and people around specific programs of just trying to build this collective for down the line. Immediately, there's enough cash in the coffer of, if you got to make a run at a player, if you got to make a play at somebody, just one person, then cut the check. I mean, like that, because ultimately that is what this is. That is what NIL is. It's great for student athletes. It's great for them to be able to collect off their name, image, and likeness. It's been a long time coming, but for the most part, the major majority of the athletes on campus really aren't going to be affected by it. I'm talking about the swimming and diving team, the track athletes, the softball players, the volleyball players, the basketball players. I mean, on a lot of campuses, the baseball players are not going to be high commodities. What this thing is really put in place for is to get football players. That is what it's turned into, right? I mean, like, that is kind of like what it is. Oh, it's not pay to play. Okay, well, then what is it? Why'd Colin Simmons cry to Frank Wilson, telling him that he just got to go to Texas? Because, I mean, the money's too long at Texas. For as much as LSU would love to be able to compete and lengthen that money out to try and compete with the boosters of Austin, it's a butter knife to a gunfight. It's a different league. It's a different class. It's a different standard. But if you've got your own Derek Williams on the board and he's saying, like, hey, man, I want to go here, I want to go there, but I mean, like, I can be hoaxed. All right, well, then get that guy whatever he wants. And if it comes down to where it's like the money's like so much and he goes to Texas, well, I mean, like, you've thrown your heaviest punch. But, I mean, at some point, Derek he's got to come to grips, like, you're going to become a millionaire in college. You're going to be ultimately, the goal is to make you a first, second round pick. And then you can always come back to Louisiana and have a life. Do whatever you want. Put your name on billboards, put your name on car dealerships, put your name on insurance, whatever you want to do. And you will be taken care of. Like that's the 40-year pitch. But that's the difference. That's the Brian Kelly. Well, we got 1 year and transfer. Okay, well, then you got to change your tactics in recruiting, man. You got to change and shift the way that you're recruiting the program, because it's all different now. I mean, like with with NIL being on the table and being a part of the discussion, the approach, what people are doing, how it's being, just kind of done is different. And I hear graduate champions, and I think it's a great message to push. And there's a lot of people out there that hear that message and they embrace that message and they want to be a part of that. But that, I got to, look, I'm all about the academic part. Get the education, get the diploma, get the degree, go get the experience. But what are we talking about here? I mean,
You come here to play school.
This is a sports show. The content is built around LSU football. It's built around making LSU one of the top programs and seeing them exceed and succeed at that level. A lot of these guys, if they're graduating while they're still playing on campus, I'd like them to be contemplating going to the league after 3 years. Those are the type of players that you're looking for, right? They can always come back and grab their degree. Take those online courses in the offseason of their first NFL year. Or they come back and make more money and make themselves a first-round pick. Either way, I'm looking for the best football players. I'm not necessarily looking to build a Boy Scout club. And I think that's the shift that either Kelly, because one thing we got to recognize, he's not going anywhere. That seat is freezing cold. It's going to take a lot more than, not playing weeks for a quarter and a half to make it hot. So he's got to figure it out. And one of the bites yesterday was, Stewie, I believe this is an early one, when he said that, not 6, we'll get to 6. It was about him, it was about when he was saying that, I'm not here to waste time. Was that the opening statement? It was early in the press conference when, maybe it's 4. Try 4 here, Stewie. And let's see if this is it. But the question asker is kind of alluding you're kind of taking your time doing it. And he's like, backs away. He's like, whoa. I don't have to. Okay, well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear, because there needs to be a sense of urgency of, really kind of getting the tanker turned. And what some of the changes have to be recognized of. Maybe this isn't the best course of action. Here he is, Stewie. This is yesterday, number 4, Brian Kelly.
Well, we have a process that we look, when we win, we rely on our process for consistency, right? And when we lose, we do the same thing, but sometimes you have to tweak your process, right? There are things that you tweak. And so in our total preparation, it's always about the physical, the technical, the tactical, and the mental. So will there be some tweaks? Possibly, technically, sure. Tactically, absolutely. Where there'll be some tweaks physically, certainly. Maybe we have to do some things, but we have a process, so we don't get caught up in the emotions of what might or might not happen. So we always rely on our process so we can stay consistent on a day-to-day basis, and we'll rely on our process whether things are going well or sometimes when there's some adversity like there is right now.
So that's Brian Kelly speaking of. That's not the exact one I was looking for, but he was talking yesterday about how, look, he's not playing with time, and that is good to hear, because sometimes you wonder where is the urgency? Where is the sense of urgency that you're kind of looking for here. Ja Eugene is coming up here in a couple of minutes.
I think 7 was what you were looking for.
Let's try it, Stewie. Try 7.
Yeah, so, we got home at around 2 a.m. I got about 4 or 5 hours sleep, And since that time, we've been having those discussions up until I walked into this door right here. So that point is exactly what we're spending time on. I think we've come up with some valid kind of solutions to where we want to go moving forward. Look, we missed a lot of tackles that gave up a lot of yards after the misses. We've got to be better in the fundamentals, and our guys know that. We've got to get the ball on the ground. We've got to create a new line of scrimmage, and that will be job one and job two as we move forward on Tuesday.
Thanks for tuning in to our premium LSU content right here on YouTube. If you want more of it, subscribe below.